You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Nikolay Veretennikov takes on Austin Vanderford this Saturday on the prelims of UFC Fight Night Seattle. And this fight was kind of thrown together last second. I was doing some research on, what was his name? Eric McConico, looking back through his record, saw that he had fought Vanderford back in the day in like their amateur days. And this was like Monday or Tuesday of this week. And so I started looking at Vanderford's Tapology profile and just wondering what this guy's up to, and come to find out he's on this card this Saturday. They booked the fight like 4 days in advance. Austin Vanderford versus Nikolay Veretennikov. Nikolay Veretennikov, I believe he was supposed to be on a card recently, pulled out of the fight. Now he's on this card. Not really sure what's going on with these shuffles, but it seems like the UFC is just kind of desperately grasping at straws to fill this card in Seattle, which I don't blame them. I think they've lost 7 fights now, so pretty crazy. Austin Vanderford initially won his shot at Dana White's Contender Series back in the day. When was that? That was back in 2018. Won by rear naked choke, so you'd assume, you know, he gets the finish, he gets a shot. Whatever reason, didn't get the call up, so went to Bellator, had a really good run there. Went on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight win streak to get a shot at Gegard Mousasi. Absolutely fumbled the bag in that one. Not really sure what hurt him, but shot him for a takedown. I don't know if he like broke his collarbone or something, but something hurt him. He fell back, got TKO'd by Gegard Mousasi. It was just kind of a not a very good showing. Kind of looked like he just rolled over and gave up. Next fight against Aaron Jeffrey. He was getting hit with some strikes on the feet. Didn't look like they were terribly strong, but he got dropped at least twice in that fight. Ended up getting put away. So 2 pretty bad losses back to back in 2022. Came back recently in LFA. Put away Victor Romero. Just kept jabbing this guy in the face. The guy just wouldn't move his head. I think he took 3 straight jabs, and fell down and got TKO'd. So not the best wins, not the best win, not the best performances as of late, coming off of 2 losses. Granted, Aaron Jeffrey and Gegard Mousasi are very good fighters. He did have a win over Fabian Edwards by decision, Leon Edwards' brother. So pretty good win there. Nikolay Veretennikov coming off of a loss to Danny Barlow. Danny Barlow, very good striker, very powerful. Has a few very quick knockouts in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Josh Quinlan, Raheem Forrest, Contender Series and UFC debut. So very dangerous striker. Their fight was pretty boring. Very technical, if you want to call it that. It was more like these guys were just kind of afraid to get hit. They were too respectful of each other's power on the feet, so not a lot going on. Veretennikov lost that one by decision, but again, didn't get put out cold by Danny Barlow, which is good to see, I guess. He did originally fight Michael Morales on the Contender Series, went 3 rounds with him. Michael Morales, dude's an absolute stud. I think he's like 17-0 now. So having decent performances against these guys that are really good and kind of the future of the welterweight division. So I do think that Nikolay Veretennikov is very talented. He's 35 years old. Vanderford's 34, getting up there. I think this fight is very close. I'm not really sure about Vanderford. He used to fight at 185. Now he's fighting at 170. Not really sure on the weight class change at 34 years old, but be curious to see how he looks in this fight. I'm going to have to lean to Nikolay Veretennikov. He does come from a Sambo background, so he's been grappling his entire life. Looked like he had some good takedown defense in some of his regional fights that I was watching. His Danny Barlow and Michael Morales fights were purely stand-up, not a lot of takedowns or grappling in those fights. He does have 1 submission, I think it was, against the guy who was primarily a submission fighter, and DeMarcus Jackson ended up hurting the guy, just eventually took the sub to end the fight. But I do think he's going to be well-rounded enough. He's definitely to defend the takedowns and keep this on the feet. He's definitely the better striker. Austin Vanderford has a lot of power on the feet, but also leaves a lot of openings, in my opinion. I think Nikolay Veretennikov will be able to keep this on the feet and expose that skill gap that Austin Vanderford has. Austin Vanderford has had 1 fight in the last 2.5 years, so not being the most active guy in the world, whereas Nikolay Veretennikov coming off of a fight in August against Danny Barlow, so gonna be the more active guy. I think he's the more well-rounded guy, and I think he gets this one done. He was training for a fight. It concerns me that I don't know why he pulled out. You know, hopefully it was just an illness or something, visa issue, even though he lives in America, but not like an injury. Whereas Austin Vanderford, who knows what he was doing, and given the state of this card, I'm wondering if the UFC was just calling anybody and everybody, looking for somebody to jump in, and he saw his chance to get into the UFC, and maybe wasn't exactly training or in shape. So curious to see if he makes welterweight, who knows. But I gotta go with Veretennikov in this one. I think he's a better fighter, more well-rounded, been more active, fights out of a good gym. I think it's King's MMA. Yeah, King's MMA has like Beneil Dariush in his corner, so I can't imagine he's getting coached or trained by Beneil Dariush and doesn't have decent jiu-jitsu or grappling takedown defense. So gonna go with Nikolay Veretennikov. He's a -160 favorite over Austin Vanderford, who is +135. So good odds here. Gonna take Veretennikov to get the finish in this one. Vanderford just, I didn't like what I saw in his last 2 fights in Bellator, and then he took time off, took on a guy that, you know, wasn't the greatest, and just hasn't been very active. So got to go with Nikolay Veretennikov. I think he gets the KO in this one, round 1 or 2. Thanks.